The evolution of your marketing will be the catalyst for the evolution of your business, and the evolution of your business will provide you with the freedom to focus on the evolution of your life. This is Evolved Marketing with Andrei and Brian. All right, welcome back to another episode of the Evolved Marketing Podcast. My name is Brian Brewer, along with my co-host, as always, Andrei Yermejev, and we have a special guest today. Today's guest I've known about 4 years. We've never officially met before today, but I've followed her on social media. I've kept an eye on her, and I can't wait to learn a little bit more about her today. But what I do know is she started in the fitness industry, started a good business, profitable business, and then transitioned. Now she is more of a social media strategist, helping other coaches and the likes build social media selling machines. I can tell from the way she carries herself, the results she gets for her clients, and the way she is connected that she knows what she's talking about and she gets results for her clients. So I'm sure we're going to learn a lot today. Speaking of being connected, I know she's interviewed the likes of Grant Cardone. She's spoken at Masterminds with Gary Vee. I saw her on an interview with Dean Graziosi, who I love and provides probably more actionable insight than just about any other marketer. So that's a really cool connection that she's made. So let's just kind of jump right into it and see what we can learn here today about today's guest, Lauren Tickner. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, wow, 4 years that you've been following me. That's pretty impressive. That's going way back to when I first ever ventured into this B2B online space. Pretty much when I was fresh out of the fitness industry. So yeah, kudos to you. That's pretty cool.
So you started with the fitness industry, right? Was that literally just making like workout stuff or like healthy stuff, or like how do you transition into like fitness and then online business?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So I get like literally hundreds and hundreds of DMs every single week. And people have these wild business plans and these goals for these online businesses that they want to emulate what other people are doing, or they've got this well thought out plan. But for me, it was kind of interesting because I just loved going to the gym. Honestly, I was obsessed with it. And so after I lost a ton of weight in a really, really unhealthy way, actually just doing way too much cardio, not eating enough food, I found this community of women online who were trying to get strong, both physically and mentally. But there was no like real leader in that space. And there was still this kind of concept of always burning more calories and getting thinner and thinner. And it wasn't really what I was into. I really love like heavy weight training, powerlifting style. And so I just honestly started posting content. And the content that I was posting was literally designed to add value. And the way that I define value is giving without expecting anything in return. So I had no desire to have a business. I was working well, actually, when I started this, I was still in high school. And then I went and worked in the corporate asset management world. But the only reason I ever started my own business was because so many people were asking me for it. And I think that's such a good testament to know if you are in that early stage of business, or if you're trying to figure out what move do you want to do next, is what's that thing that people are asking you about all the time, where when they ask you about it, it lights you up and it gives you joy to give them answers. So sometimes, when I speak to people and they start sharing about, the latest automation techniques so that you can grow your email list or something, that it just lights them up. Or they start talking about training and nutrition and fitness, and their energy and their voice changes. What is that for you? Right. And then for me, it was all about health and fitness. And I really didn't have a desire to turn it into a business because I didn't know how to run a business. But I also thought, well, there's no money in the fitness industry. But then I kind of found out about this online coaching thing because I saw a couple people who were YouTubers at the time, who I used to watch, who are now good friends of mine, funnily enough. They were making this online coaching thing. And I thought, well, and we have banter about it, but I say like, well, I know more about fitness than them. So I started selling some programs, and it was cool because I was selling to young women. So I had to actually sell to their parents. And I was just like, this is the best hack ever. Like, the parents want their kids to be happy. And this is such a great space. And I love it. It's empowering. It's fun. And honestly, that's how it all started for me.
Yeah, very interesting. So you started off selling courses and programs and stuff like that. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, you ended up scaling that business multiple six figures, perhaps seven figures. Is that correct? And if so, how did that evolve over the time that you stuck with it?
Yeah, so I was making multiple six figures in profit per year when I was in my very early 20s. I can remember the first time I ever had like 100K in my bank. that was like the best feeling ever. And then after that, it's kind of a blur. You know, you always remember those like very key moments because you build up so much hype for that. And I was also so proud because it was 100K pounds, not US dollars. And back then, the pound was a lot stronger. But I can actually see, Andrei, you have those ClickFunnels plaques behind you there, right? Like, so what was really interesting is that my friends and I, we were all getting sponsored by these big fitness brands. So we were doing photo shoots with like Reebok and Gymshark and all these companies. And they would pay a lot of money. And so then all of these brands, there was this kind of, you know how everything in every industry is pretty cyclical. So there'll be a period of time where everyone's doing one thing and then slowly it fades and then everyone moves on to the next trend, etc. So there was this massive phase of these companies working with, they call them micro influencers. So it's like you have like 50 to 100 to 500K followers in a very specific niche. Obviously, you can have like tiny influencers, which is like even more micro than micro influencers, but I won't get into the tactics of that here. I know this is a marketing podcast, but like micro influencers are a really good way to like grow your brand in a specific niche. So these companies were picking micro influencers to support their brands. They pay a lot of money, as I said. But then they all stopped working with micro influencers and started working with like legitimate celebrities, like A-list celebrities, because they started to realize, well, everyone's using social media now, so we should pay the bigger celebs, we'll get more money. Now, side note, interesting, that plan clearly backfired because they've gone back to working with micro influencers now. But anyway, because you pay like 200 grand for like one post or more with these celebs. So all my friends that were getting sponsored by these fitness brands, like they were now making no money. And I brought up ClickFunnels. So at the time, I was using half on ClickFunnels, half on like my own kind of website and stuff. And I had this one funnel that was like killing it. So it was basically this free fitness challenge where you would sign up, you would have a 3-day fitness program. And so it would just give them some workouts, some training stuff. And I would get everyone into a Facebook group, get that Facebook group super engaged for that really short time period. And then I would just sell at the end of it, like no sales calls or nothing. I think I was selling something for around £1,000 or so. Honestly, I don't remember the exact price, but I remember it was like between like 750 to like 1.25 in pounds or USD. So anyways, I would then give challenge prizes. So I'd give people like money who participated the most, right? Because everybody wants to be skinny and lose weight. That's the goal. Like they want to get skinny and have money, and be cool. So I would shout them out in the group. That would make them cool. I would make them lose weight from the challenge or like make them feel like they're losing weight. And I would give them money. They didn't have to pay to join the challenge, by the way. But I would use the money that I sold to give out prizes. So what was interesting is my friends, they were selling nothing. Okay, so I gave them this ClickFunnels funnel because I thought, well, how cool is this? I can get affiliate commission, like $30 a month. Oh, this is going to be such a lot of money. Obviously not. Well, I still get passive income from a couple of those guys, but I gave them these funnels and they started running them and they made more than 20K in their first launch, each of them. And I thought, sick, I'm so proud of them. Like they had millions of subscribers. I was super happy for them. And that was that. And then like all these events started happening, these big fitness conferences and stuff. And a lot of my friends were invited to like run workouts and everything. But I was always invited to speak about social media. And I was kind of like pissed in the beginning because I was like, well, I want to run these workouts. Like that's way more fun. But in hindsight, it was such a blessing because it actually gave me the idea to do what I do today. So I know that was a pretty roundabout way of saying things, but my lesson in everything is that what are people asking me for? Like, what is the cue that I'm getting from the market here? And then how can I take that cue? And now my lesson is how can I validate that as quickly as possible? Because in the past, I used to just drag it on and on and on and on forever. I would never take what I was learning and actually implement it. Whereas now, when I get some clear directional feedback, I use that, I implement it, I try and validate it as quick as possible, aka by making sales, getting money in the bank. And then from there, then I know it's something to actually build on top of.
Yeah, that's super smart that you were able to kind of like fill the gap in the market because they were all these followers, they were asking you, when are you going to help us or like create your own product? And you actually were able to provide that for them. So that's super interesting. And also that you kind of made it like a friendly competition as well. So all the people that bought into you or into the program that you were that you were offering, they were all excited about it because they were actually getting the results and it was fun for them as well. So how long were you in that fitness niche? Like, did you, after the fitness niche, you went into doing something else with like online business? Did you have like a different focus after that?
Yeah, so it was a long time, I guess, for the percentage of my career. So I started giving away content for free, I guess, age 16, started properly monetizing age 19, 20, 21, and then maybe around age 22 did I start actually selling the personal branding programs, based upon the feedback that I was getting. And then from there, over the last four years, it's really just been all about helping people make more from social media and also scale the business that they love.
Excellent. So at some point that all transitioned into, I think, your flagship program now, which is Impact School. So maybe if you could just give the listener, the 30-second, 2-minute rundown of what Impact School is and what it does, and then we'll jump back into the marketing nerd stuff and talk about how you make money with it.
Yeah, so what we have is we have a community which is all about helping business owners scale a business using social media in a way that actually lights them up. So we run everything through the 7 areas of impact. And so it's ultimately about looking at each of the different pillars of the business. So it would be your product, so the actual thing that you're selling. We like to help people create leverage in their business. So many people that come to us, when we rank them on the 7 areas of impact, we rank them on 1 to 7 for all 7. And then we're able to score them to see where their business actually is and look at the lowest score, because the thing that you rank the lowest on, if you improve that one thing, that's going to improve all the other areas. And oftentimes what ends up happening is people just don't have consistent leads or consistent sales. The word that we hear all the time is consistency or consistent. I need something consistent. And usually the reason why, for example, when they get into every sales appointment or sales call or DM conversation or meeting with a prospect, the reason why they don't have one repeatable way to do it is because every time they have to create a bespoke package to sell that thing, or they have just so many different things that they're selling that they have to string it together in the sales process in a very personalized way. So we're really all about helping people build what we call a CEO scale system. So you as a CEO can scale yourself out of the fulfillment and out of the delivery through creating a leveraged product, which is all around taking your client to a specific outcome, chunking it down into mini outcomes. I've spoken about this at a lot of events like Roland Fraser's War Room, where I spoke on the same stage as, for example, Alex Hormozy. A lot of people know who that is. And it's really all about delivering results to clients in a way where you're able to leverage your time so that it's so good that it could be a DIY like online program, but you actually add in touch points and guide the client through it so that they really get the result. They send referrals and they bring in more business for you. So the first one is product. Okay. The next one is authority, awareness, and audience. So this is all about how much authority do you command online that allows you to build an audience of dream clients. Okay, so right now I'm talking about the 7 areas of impact. The first was product. The second is audience, awareness, and authority. Okay, the third one is lead generation. So how are you bringing in leads consistently? Okay, the fourth one is lead nurturing, and automation. So once you actually get potential interest, is it buy or die? Or do you actually have a nurturing automation process in place? Again, you want to be ranking yourself on that, because imagine if you were able to go out there into the world, go on other people's podcasts, go and speak at events, run live trainings, etc., and know with certainty that on the back end, any interest that you're getting is actually converting into leads because of your nurturing and automation process, right? Something that we're really big on. One of the big things that we help our clients and members with is like automating the DMs. So the DMs is like a safety net for any interest that you're getting, because then you're able to show up on social media knowing that it will convert. The next one, okay, so we've already been through product, authority, awareness, and audience, lead generation, lead nurture. Then the next one will be sales. Okay, so how strong is your sales process? Your system, is it actually converting and closing? Are people showing up to the sales conversations, right? All of these markers are markers of a healthy business. All right. And so then from there, it's client loyalty. How long do clients stay with you? Do they retain? Do they even complete their initial contract that they sign up for? Sorry, that's really loud. I'll say it again. Do they even complete the initial contract that they signed up for? Or do they churn? Do they bring in referrals to your business? Do they actually stay on with you after their initial contract, right? And then the final thing would be operations and team structure. We don't really help so much with this, okay? But it's important because all of these areas have an element of that. But when it comes to operations and team structure, honestly, it's not my strongest point, but it's a very important point to check off, because if you don't have proper structure, then all of these other areas are just going to crumble and fail. So we look at the business across all those different areas. And the reason I bring this up is because I think oftentimes people online are very used to join. Like, I did a live training about this yesterday, and people's minds were just blown about how much we look at. Like, I shared this one kind of thing, which was like our 7x7 grid about how to rank yourself from 1 to 7 on all these 7 areas. If you want, I can find a way to get this so that you guys can put it in the show notes or something. But people were like, this is literally all you need to scale a business. And it was interesting because for us, we've always worked with clients in such a deep capacity, but we get this all the time. You know, I've been burned by other programs. I've been burned by coaches, masterminds, etc., because there's so much marketing. Like, one of the biggest things that we saw lately was, you know, we'll give you a setter, or we'll give you $2,500 or something, right? My clients see these ads all the time, then they go in that program and they're so burnt and they're so drained from this like thing that they've paid for, then they lose trust. And because when you buy one specific thing like that, you might be buying something that you want, but not what you actually need. And so what we try and do is actually analyze the full business to see what really your business needs. So I know I went on a tangent there, but like, I think as a business owner, when you're able to truly analyze your business, and then you know what you actually need rather than just thinking, oh, I need more leads, it allows you to act in a more proactive manner and not constantly be so reactive and in a state of stress and overwhelm where you feel like nothing's working, when it does work. These systems all work. Like, these other people have testimonials, right? But maybe the reason why it doesn't work for you isn't because this potential lead generation system doesn't work, but it's probably because your authority is lacking, and you need to build your authority first before you move into this lead generation system. Okay, just as one example, there's many more examples I could give. Like, your sales aren't converting. Okay, well, maybe it's not because your sales is bad, but or the script that you've been given sucks. Maybe it's not that. Maybe it's just because your product is really, really bad. Okay, and you need to improve that first. So I spoke a lot, but I hope that gives you some context. And I didn't really speak about, you know, what do we do and what do we sell, because I don't really care about sharing that. But I want to share this concept so that hopefully your audience will actually be able to take something away from this and think about their business as more of a whole system rather than just one individual problem that they need to fix immediately.
Yeah, I mean, the way you broke it down, you know, you broke it down into like 7 different things, and it actually makes sense when you break those things down, because the normal person doesn't really think about each of those things that you just mentioned. So it actually is great that you're able to break it down and explain it to people, and actually have them realize what they're missing in their own business just by breaking it down for them. So that's really great that you do that. And did you find this method like a trial and error, or were you like testing it out with different companies at first, or how were you able to get to the point where this actually works?
Yeah, so to be honest, it's not really something that I'm like super proud of, but I used to just work all the time. All the time. Like, I was living in England when I first kind of I was born there, that's where I'm from. And like, my younger brother's disabled. And so basically I remember a few years ago, maybe like 5 years ago now. Yeah, it must have been 5 years ago. On Christmas Eve, like, this isn't something like crazy, you know, sad story or whatever, so I'll just front this with that. But like, he was in hospital. He has to go to hospital a lot just because he's got like very severe epilepsy. But my parents had been divorced like a couple years before that, and so my mum was there with him by herself, and so I went to go and see them. At this time, I wasn't honestly speaking to my mum a lot. Like, we had this period where we just weren't really talking, but I went because I thought, you know, one of my core values is family, and like, at the end of the day, forgiveness is going to set you free. So I went there and we had a really nice time, but I knew actually I'd already scheduled a sales call for that day. On Christmas Day, because for the next person, they were in Australia, so for them it was going to be the next day. So anyway, I left at like 7 or something, and I left early because I had the sales call, and I took it while I was walking home, and I didn't close that person. And then after that moment, I just felt like this, you know, that feeling like, you guys can probably relate to this, like as a business owner, you just feel so empty, like hopeless, honestly, hopeless. Because I literally left my family in that moment to go and take a sales school because I thought I was going to close a sale, which I didn't even really need to make. And then I just didn't close it. And I felt like a failure, but I also felt so ashamed of my actions. Okay, that's the best way. It was like shame. So I went home and I listed all the things that my business and I were focusing on at that moment. And like there was 30 things because I had this whiteboard. I literally listed everything out. And then I started looking like, what is all this stuff that we're doing? Pretty much all of it. It was like way more than half of the items were making this new course and building this new product and all this like client work that I was just always doing all the time. And my problem at that moment was like, I just couldn't sell more stuff. I just couldn't, it just wasn't, I was launching all this stuff, but it just wasn't selling like I wanted it to be. I was trying to run ads. My ad account kept getting blocked. Like it was driving me crazy. And then I looked at all of the things that we were doing in like sales and marketing. And I think it was like 3 things. And then there was like 5 things, because I remember I took a photo of my whiteboard. There was like 5 things I circled in purple. It's my brand color, which was like team stuff. And so I looked at everything and I was like, why is everything all about client work when that's like the least of our problems right now? And I was thinking, this is so weird. Like, why am I putting literally all of our efforts into the one area that's working? And that's when I thought, because my company is called Impact School, right? I thought like area of impact. And I just began to immediately zoom in on this sales and marketing. And then I dissected that out. And what I realized is like authority check. We've got that down. Like that's sweet. We have the audience. People are aware of us. Like we're good. And so I just thought, okay, so like when I speak, when my team speaks, it's listened to. That's perfect. So I kind of put that to the side, but I was very conscious that's something that's really important. Next thing that I thought was, okay, like leads, we have like frigging thousands of leads. Like we do not have a lead generation problem. And at that moment, I realized my one problem was lead nurturing. We were just constantly like trying to get more leads and do all this stuff with our existing clients, but we had literally 0 follow-up or nurturing process in place. So then for the rest of that month, we pretty much solely focused on this, putting automations in place, safety net system in the DMs, all this stuff. And then to your point, like your original question, how did I come up with this? At that moment, I think I figured out like 6 areas, but I was not thinking about team and operations because it's just like not my thing. And then only over the last few years did I figure out that was the 7th area. So pretty much then my personal branding business, my lead generation agency, that's how I actually grew these companies, both to 7 figures, always through thinking through the 7 areas of impact. And for me as the business owner, this is what I'm always looking at. Every quarter every quarter I do a big quarterly review of the 7 areas of impact. And then every month before we do our monthly planning, I do my 7 areas of impact smaller analysis where I have a series of questions for the month, right? And so for the month ahead, for the past month, how it went, and then I can present that to my leadership team. And that's how we always stay proactive rather than reactive. And let me tell you, like it took a long time to actually get into that place because for my first years in fitness, like it was just constant mayhem, reactivity, like chaos. And it's not something I'm proud of because it caused me to be in these positions where I would just burn bridges with people. I was a terrible leader. I didn't really see my family. I literally had no friends. So yeah, I had to learn the hard way. So hopefully you don't have to.
No, that's great. I mean, you were very analytical with your business and you figured it out, and then you turned and took what you figured out and now you share it with others, and that's become your business. And that really is the formula, whether you're doing something and want to transition or scale, or you're brand new and a beginner and you're not sure what you want to do. That is the formula. What have you figured out and how can you help? And like you said, what are people asking of you? So I want to go back to the 7 pillars that you focus on at Impact School. But before I do, I want to preface this a little bit for context. So One thing I know about you that I've probably seen on social media as I've been following you for quite a while is that you rely heavily on organic marketing as opposed to paid traffic and ads. Okay. And obviously, that is very effective. Andrei and I both use a combination. I think Andrei is 100% organic. I'm about 90% organic with a little bit of paid traffic as well. So it definitely works. When I see your content online, having never met you in person prior to today, if I were to look at those 7 pillars, I instantly think authority and audience when I look at you. To me, that seems like your strength. You may disagree or agree. But the reason I believe that is because your content gets engagement, and through analysis, it appears that you have what some folks like to call a good buyer's audience. And once again, I don't know if that's true or not. You can agree or disagree. But if that is true, the question I have for you, Lauren, is when you're creating content, obviously you're creating content to attract eyeballs and leads and all that stuff, but what are you really trying to accomplish at the core of your content? Is it pre-framing? Is it just simply attraction? Can you give us any insight into your content strategy and what you're trying to accomplish with it?
Every time I make content, I split it out into 3 different groups of people. So it's really cool if you have a strategy for whenever you create content, but if you want to actually convert, get engagement, and make sales, then thinking about your content through multiple different lenses, right? So you put your different glasses on every time you're speaking to a different group of people. This is how you're literally able to print money, okay? And really help people at the same time. So the 3 segments, you guys are marketing people, right? So I can use my marketing lingo. Sometimes I go on these other podcasts and I have to speak in more dumbed down terms, but let's talk marketing terminology, right? It's super simple. Top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, right? You guys know the 5 stages of awareness, right? The listeners, if you don't already, type 5 stages of awareness marketing into Google, you'll find it. Eugene Schwartz, legend, right? Awesome piece of content that any marketer needs to understand. I won't get into that. But ultimately, it's this. Top of the funnel content is literally where you are thinking, how can I reach more people? But how can I answer the question in their mind that they're going to be thinking when they see this random person on their feed? Who the bloody hell is this British girl speaking with a funny accent? That's what I need to answer whenever someone sees me for the first time. So the first line of my content must command authority. So we test many different things all the time. Sometimes it could be a picture of me with Gary V, right? That does all the talking that I need. I don't need to say nothing. And they're going to see the photo and it's going to attract the right people as long as I'm talking about something relevant to what Gary V would be talking about. But if it's just a random photo of me on some yacht in Dubai, right? I need to kind of remove the potential objections in their mind while also conveying authority. So we've tested many things, but usually what's working best for personal brand-led businesses, agencies, etc., would be I insert something which if you told someone at a cocktail party, their jaw would drop. Okay, you probably wouldn't tell it to them at a cocktail party because it's a bit arrogant. But if you were to turn to someone at a cocktail party and you would just brag about yourself, what would that thing be? So one of the ones that works for me, I'll give you an example, is I became a millionaire by the age of 23. And the next thing I want to do is I want to bush the objections, right? Without OnlyFans, Daddy's Money, or multi-level marketing. All right. And then I add a further thing at the end, here are the 5 habits that made me a millionaire. Here's the exact business model that made me a millionaire. So that's top of the funnel content. Then essentially what I go into is 3 to 5 value points about that thing, whatever I'm talking about. So I really want to give a lot of value. Again, remember, value is giving without expecting anything in return. In the top of the funnel content, in the second value point, and at the very end, I add a sideways call to action. Okay, this is a terminology I came because kind of sideways. It's yeah, just let me know if you want it. You're not really directly telling them to go and click this thing right now because these are top of the funnel people. They don't know who you are yet. But if they love your stuff, you obviously want to give them an opportunity to connect further with you. So let's just say I was talking about here's the business model that made me a millionaire by the age of 23. In the second point, I might be talking about the CEO scale system product. And I spoke about this at an event. Let me know if you want the recording. I'm not like going crazy, but people start commenting like me. And even if you post it, I used to in the beginning days, I used to just copy paste this into Facebook groups everywhere. It crushes and it doesn't get you banned from Facebook, LinkedIn groups. So that's how you can reach more people. And then at the end, it's like, and just remember, if you want that recording, just let me know. Just really casually. Sometimes you don't even need to also put it at the end. It kind of depends where you're posting it, on your own platform or somebody else's. So that's the top of the funnel content. Do you guys have any questions about that for now before I move into the rest?
Oh, we're good right here.
Okay,
let's move on. Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
So the next content is basically talking to your followers, your audience, or people that like know who you are, but they just don't necessarily know what your business does. Okay. So you have authority in their mind, but they might not have awareness of what you sell. Because the awareness piece is all about awareness of what do you actually do for business. So in this middle of the funnel content, typically the very top line of that should be something to do with like, you don't need to command authority right now. Okay, because they already follow you. They already know that you have authority, but you need to speak to them as though they have that already closed in their mind, that they know that you're legit. Now you're going to be sharing a tactic with them. You're going to be sharing a strategy with them. The best thing to do is to take objections that you're hearing in sales or problems that people say that they are coming to you to get solved, with your business. You should keep a running list of like, okay, this person joined me because of this. This person on a sales call said this exact wording. That's what I'm going to make content about. And then basically chunk that down again, 3 or 5 steps. So I'll give you an example of one, and you can use client stories in this as well. So an objection that I would have all the time is, I just don't have a big following, so I'm never going to make money online, right? You guys know that that's obviously not true, but this is an objection that we get from non-marketers all the time. So I made this post, which was like, I was speaking to a well-known guy with 450,000 followers the other day, and he was making less than $4,600 per month. And then I said, like, here are the 5 things that we're doing to make him hyper profitable. It was something along those lines. I can't remember exactly, but it was basically taking that objection, which is, I just don't have a big following, so I can never make money online, and showing people that people with a lot of followers may not actually be making money online. So this was great because this helped us get a lot of influencers joining our membership. And it also helped us actually get small following people who are good at what they do, feel convicted that our system can work for them. So that was cool. So middle of the funnel, basically take an objection, flip it on its head, chunk it down into a strategy, talk about the frameworks and the systems that you use in your business to serve clients. And that's actually, how you can make this content. So Brian, let me ask you a question. In your sales process, what's one of the biggest objections that you're hearing all the time from your potential clients?
Yeah, one of the biggest objections that I get is that people are afraid or lack trust in their ability to actually create the content. I talk a lot about video content, sometimes short form, sometimes YouTube, but I talk a lot about video content because that's what's the most powerful for me. So people say, I'm not good on camera, for example, might be a specific.
Okay. So for example, let's say you had a client called Sandy, right? Sandy couldn't speak on camera without going bright red, something like this, right? Because is that something that you feel like your clients would relate to? They go red and blushing, or what else happens to them when they try?
Yeah, no, 100%, because that's really what people are worried about. They're worried, what are people going to think of me? And so what happens when that thought enters your mind? You might get embarrassed. You might turn bright red. So I think that's accurate. That's a good place to go.
Yeah, so like Sandy started stuttering and blushing every time she started creating video content on social media. Now she makes blah, 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 X amount of money every single month in less than 30 minutes of creating video content each week, right? I'm just putting words in your mouth here. But and then it's like, here are the 3 things Sandy did to increase her confidence when showing up on camera. Step 1, boom, whatever it is, your framework. Step 2, whatever it is, your framework. If you want a training on how to, whatever it is, comment or DM me access and I'll send it to you. Step 3, whatever it is. At the end, thank you so much for reading. Remember, if you want that training on how to blah, 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 comment or DM the word access and I'll send it to you. That's essentially like middle of the funnel content, because you're speaking to people who are interested, but they have an objection in their mind, so they haven't taken that next step.
Right.
They need evidence that your system will work for them despite the objections that they have. Okay. And then bottom of the funnel content, you put your glasses on and you're talking to the people that you have authority in their mind. They're aware of what you do, but they just need an opportunity to actually take action. So just put an offer out in front of them. Remember, an offer is the in-between point of your product and marketing. Okay, so you put offers out there into the world about what exactly it is that you can do for them. So I'll install a super simple social media sales system into your business so that you land 3 to 5 high-paying clients every single week. DM me the word info to learn how we can install it for you. That's one example of the copy. But again, we're always testing this, right? So like we sometimes say that, and then sometimes it's like, we'll make sure you're landing 3 to 5 high-paying clients every single week without having to run a single ad. DM me info to learn how we can install this system for you. Or like DM me info to hire us and we'll do this for you. You want to get people that are like intent-based. They have intent to actually become your client. And this is the content for those that are ready to buy right now. And we typically do that one once per week. And we just, again, copy and paste all this content onto every single platform. People ask me, should this be written, video, whatever? It doesn't really matter. I personally, for these pieces of content, I want to see like my clients doing one of each per week at the very minimum. And then in between that, doing value content. And the way to figure out what value content to post typically is through the objections that you're hearing on sales calls. Because oftentimes it's like you have this idea for a piece of content in the shower and then you post it and it flops because it's not being taken from what people actually want. It's your idea, not coming from your people. And obviously there's super tactical things that you can do for social media and increasing reach and authority, etc. But for now, that's a very, very simple blueprint. And the really nice thing about this is, yeah, as I said, you can copy and paste it alongside of a photo on every platform: Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook personal profile, Instagram stories, Facebook stories, like YouTube feed thing. You can make a B-roll video and then put the copy on top of a video with the music as well. And then that one piece of copy is going super far and you just post it all on the same like all the different platforms on the same day, and then you're reaching so many more people than you would otherwise. And it's really, really simple. And yeah, it allows you to make it both on video and on text. That's the easiest way to start.
Wow. I hope everybody listening was taking notes, because I was. Like the way you break down this everything with like, this is literally like a marketing strategy for Instagram social media. You get me? So if everybody just
Instagram. Copy paste it everywhere.
There you go. See, so if somebody like just follows this, they will have more leads for their business. They'll be able to make more sales. So if everybody was listening or didn't pay attention, you better listen to this episode again, because it was golden nuggets after golden nuggets. So now I want to shifts a little bit. You were a speaker next to Alex Hormozy and Gary Vee at like a marketing event. How was that? Like, were you like nervous? Was that exciting for you? How was that? How was your experience in those events?
Yeah, the Hormozy one was a couple years back, and then the Gary Vee one was a few months ago. So I wasn't actually nervous. I was a little nervous before the Gary Vee one, but more so because everybody in the room was making between 1 million and 250 million a year in their business. So that was more what was making me nervous, was the audience was very sophisticated. And I would say the reason why I don't get so nervous is because one time one of my coaches told me, well, Lauren, the reason why you're speaking at these events is to deliver to the people. And it's not all about you, it's about them. And ever since I thought about that, then I realized, yeah, like you're right. It's not about me. I shouldn't be making this situation about me. I should be making it about the audience, and I should be giving as much value as possible to the audience. And I honestly try and think through the same things when I am creating content on social media. I'm trying to always bear that in mind and consider I need to get people's attention. So I need to say something in the very beginning that's going to hook them in. But then from there, it's just giving, 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 giving. And the more you give, the more you get. It's so paradoxical, but it's just a fact of life. And I just want to say one thing just really quickly, just about the other point, because a lot of people make things harder for themselves than they need to be. So after someone DMs you that keyword on the back of your social media post, right? It could also be text. It could also be getting them to text a number. I don't really like that as much, just because I'm British, and like whenever I see an American phone number, I'm always like, oh, it's not going to go through, because on a lot of mobile phone plans that you buy, if you're in the UK, Dubai, actually, if you don't have international texting included, which most of them honestly don't, it's not like you can't even pay to send it. It doesn't send. Okay, so that's why I personally, I'm just like, I'm a foreign person, so I that's why I don't do that, because all these systems are built mainly for USA, Canada. But we've automated like literally the whole process after someone DMs. So one of the biggest things, especially for those that are more into marketing than into, sales, is how can you actually take away the burden of the sales team and having a super stressful sales team that is taking up your mental energy or your personal energy, where you need to get in the DMs all the time trying to message all these people. Instead, you can just get them to DM you a keyword, and then it's all automated on the back end of that. And that's one of the things that I'm probably the most proud of, that we've actually built for all of our clients and members, because now they don't need to think about it, right? And like, it's really simple. You don't have to pay for like 10 billion different softwares every single month. And it's just something whereby it's all in one place with the DMs. And so I just wanted to say that quickly, because you can make your life a lot easier with automation. And there's a lot of great ways to automate things nowadays. And if you're not an automation person, it was one of the best investments to hire in your team, honestly. So just a side note and a caveat.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. My business runs exclusively on automation from the conversion process, and it just gives you the ultimate freedom. And I think what a lot of people do, especially when they're first getting started, they're first looking to scale, is they rely too heavily on being one-to-one in the DMs, not with automation, but sitting there on their phone typing and responding with people. And because that is effective, obviously, it works, and then they tend to rely on that until they burn themselves out. So that is what I hear a lot in this space. Now, you've been in the space for a long time. Have you ever gotten to the point where you felt just burned out by business, or have you just been all in and going strong? And how can you speak to that? If you have experience, what advice can you give from overcoming that? And if you don't, how do you avoid the burnout?
I don't think I've ever met anyone that's not ever been burnt out. But I don't actually know like the proper definition of burnout. I think that's like a scientific definition of it. But actually, I didn't have a period for more than 5 years, right? And as a woman, it's because I was just constantly hustling. I was hustling all the time. I was taking, the kind of man entrepreneur advice of like intermittent fasting and all these different things, and running my business like from a place of so much force and so much pushing and hustling all the time, which actually, yeah, I mean, I don't know if the right word is burnout, but it caused actual physical problems in my body. So I've overcome that now, thankfully, over the last year, which has been great. And I cannot believe how much energy I have. Like, I didn't even realize how bad I felt every day until I actually began to change the way that I was eating, change the way that I was working, and just change my schedule in general. So I think what's interesting is, even though I started in health and fitness, when I began getting more and more and more in business, I allowed that to take over. And then that kind of distracted me. I told you guys earlier, like I would miss, I would miss things in my family. I would leave events to go and do business stuff. All for nothing, like all for nothing. So yeah, those are probably the things which I'm very intentionally trying to avoid nowadays. And obviously there's seasons where you need to do more work, right? Like that's just a fact of business. But in general, my approach now has been, yeah, as you said, like more about how can I automate things? How can I hire things out and actually delegate stuff so that I can stay in my zone of genius? And it's funny because you mentioned like the thing that I'm the strongest at is the audience and authority. And you're right. Like I've been having this conversation with my head of operations, and the question is, what can I not replace myself in? And the things that I can't replace myself in is the thing that I'm really, really good at, which is showing up on social media, sharing value, and like bring in the energy, which I'm good at that. I love that. I want to do that every day. I don't even want to outsource or delegate that. So it's that question to ask yourself, what is it that only you can do? Like really, what only can you do? Because when you're in that mindset, like, oh, I'm the only one that can work with clients, or I'm the only one that can build funnels or run ads or do the posting on the accounts or something, I think that's a dangerous place to be, because it's not true and you're lying to yourself. And as business owners, we're very, very good salespeople. And so if you're selling yourself on something that's false, you may not even be able to call yourself out on that. And that's really, really dangerous. So you need to actually check yourself. You need to look across the 7 areas of impact like we went through earlier. And that will give you clarity on, are you just giving everything a lot of effort, but it's directionally incorrect? Because I think that's what causes burnout. And we've seen this in our clients. I would say some of my clients and members that when they first come to us, that's probably more burnout than I've personally been. I think I'm very good at tolerating a huge amount of stress. Mine is more, I experience then physical symptoms of like heart palpitations, thing with my period, etc. Like I don't feel it as much mentally. I'll still keep going, which is a blessing and a curse. But some of my clients are like legit burnout, like fully burn out. And it's because they're doing so much, but it's going in the wrong direction.
Yeah, it's super interesting because I also felt burnout in my business too, and I sabotaged my business before just because of the burnout. So it's always good to like, fix your mindset, fix your health. You gotta take care of yourself, or else your business won't be great. I know we're getting almost time for this podcast to be finished. One last thing I want to talk about is your podcast. You also have a podcast, Impact School podcast, right? What are some things that you share in the podcast? I think our audience will benefit from it as well.
Yeah, so I love talking about social media strategy, scaling business. I have my team come on there sometimes to talk all across the different 7 areas of impact. And as well, we do have guests on there. So there's an episode with, you mentioned Grant Cardone, Dean Graziosi, Ed Milet, various other people. We haven't been doing so many guests lately, but now it's just, information that's going to allow you to scale your business in a way that's aligned to you, that's going to allow you to love your business again while making a lot of money. That's what we like to help people with. And I think we're very good at it too.
Well, that's amazing. One question, and this can be quick, but we have to know, because this will be, I think, our 36th episode of this podcast, which actually started at Funnel Hacking Live 2022. So that was really cool. Or that's when the idea was born. So as we learn, we like to learn from those who've been doing it longer and the greats. So what's the secret to getting high caliber guests on your podcast? What's your little strategy for getting people like Ed Milet and Dean Graziosi and so on and so forth?
Well, the first thing is, it's very easy to get other guests when you've had one really big guest. So if you can get one big guest, then you can leverage that to bring on other guests. So for example, the reason, actually, to be fair, Grant Cardone's team had reached out to me, but I had already interviewed Elena. So I'd interviewed her, and I can't remember how I interviewed her, but how I got Dean Graziosi is because I had interviewed Ed Milet, I'd interviewed Grant. So then when I reached out to him on DMs, I just DM'd him and I said, hey, I interviewed Grant Cardone. I've loved your content for years. You've helped me with this, this, and this. It would be an honor to promote your new book or whatever it was that they were launching. And so I position it like in value for him. But I leveraged the fact that I'd already interviewed some really legit people. And then I positioned it like, I can get you in front of this many people. And obviously my combined following across social media is pretty big. So that's how I did that.
Well, that's very cool. I appreciate that. It's kind of like you are leveraging the results that you got. You have one guest, and that gives you authority by association, which works really well. And you mentioned earlier when you were talking about just a picture of you and Gary Vee works really well for the top of the funnel. So a good concept for folks to keep in mind. So going forward, Lauren, we'll be using you as our gigantic guest to get other gigantic guests on. So we appreciate your time. One thing we like to do, even though I know we're running out of time, we offer the opportunity for all of our guests to turn the tables and ask us questions. So if you want to ask us anything, feel free to do so. And if not, if you can just take us out with a last piece of solid gold advice for the audience, and then we'll let you get on your way.
Okay, well, you've been following me for 4 years. So, Andrei, I don't know if you've seen my content or anything, but if you have, I'd like to know from both of you, what do you feel like I could do, right? You guys are marketing nerds just like me. What do you feel like I could do better with my social media or my content or marketing in general that would improve my business?
So for me, like I said, I've been following you for years. And one thing that I didn't even realize until this morning is I follow you on Facebook, or if I don't follow you officially, I see your content all the time. I've been following you on Facebook for a long time. But for whatever reason, this was the first time that I ended up at your free training, the 20-minute free training, which you're certainly welcome to recommend and talk about, and we'll make sure we'll put in the show notes. So maybe, I don't know if it's just the type of content I'm seeing, but maybe a more, not 100% of the time, but a more direct call to action might help. I don't know.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, so from what I've noticed, I mean, I like I say, I don't know you for 4 years, it's almost brand new. I will try to also not have such a high quality of videos out there. For example, I know there's a lot of production with your videos, maybe a lot of editing going on. Maybe simplify it a little bit, and you maybe make your life easier as well, because people are usually scrolling really quick, and the high production videos do work. They draw a lot of leads, but also if you just make it a little more simpler, you could attract other type of audience as well, not just seeing your maybe Alex Hormozzi's type of videos. You get me? Instead, because they're gonna know, okay, this person's probably selling something that is expensive. Maybe if you change your content a little bit, I mean, super simpler, I feel like you'll attract a different type of audience as well.
Yeah, solid. Great feedback, guys. Thank you. I appreciate it. And then for the audience, you asked me to give some golden nugget piece of value. Honestly, I would say decrease the barrier to entry. People, you kind of mentioned it there, Andrei, but people make it so hard for themselves to show up on social media in a way that's actually possible for themselves to keep up with it, right? So if you're able to take the commitment down that you're going to be making to something that you can actually stick to every single week, you're going to get it done rather than constantly feeling like a failure. So if you just need to post 3 times a week, cool. Make it 3 times a week. Stick to that. That's happening, rain or shine. And then you give yourself confidence. You start seeing results from it. It motivates you to do more. If you need to, you might not even need to. That might be all that it takes, right? So take the barrier down and life is going to be a lot easier.
Excellent. I think that's great advice. Plus that, I think that helps you build confidence, momentum, and then who knows what can happen from there. Maybe it'll get you to a point where you have more time, more freedom, and then you can post 28 times a day if you want. And who knows what will happen after that. Well, Lauren, thank you so much. I truly mean it when I say that we will definitely leverage you as our huge guest, because I have such respect for you. And I know you've had amazing success and you get amazing results for your clients. So thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me. This has been really fun and I appreciate it. You guys have great energy and we'll stay in touch for sure.
All right. Sounds great. And we'll link everything down in the show notes. If you're checking this out on one of the podcast platforms, we'll also put it in the comments. That if you're watching this on YouTube, that way you can get into Lauren's world. You can see what she's all about. You can follow her on Facebook or Instagram, or check out some of the free trainings that she offers. But we thank everybody for tuning in to this amazing episode, and we'll see everybody on the next episode of the Evolved Marketing Podcast.
Thank you, Lauren.
Bye-bye. Thank you.